Ethical theories and issues in IT. Here, we're going to be talking about definitions of ethics and morals, identifying moral dilemmas, ethical and moral frameworks, moral foundations theory, and we'll have raised the question of surveillance capitalism and its ethics. Ethics is relatively equals to morals, we should remember. So ethics comes from the Greek, the word for the Greek, and then morals is the word from the Latin. And they're both referred to proper behavior or what is good or what is right. Some more specific definitions here from the Cambridge Dictionary of Philosophy, 1995. Ethics is, well, in one sense, is the philosophical study of morality as a study, and the general study of goodness, the general study of right action. And it's also a set of concepts and principles that guide us in determining what behaviors helps or harms sentient creatures. So essentially, what is good or bad for individuals, people, and animals that have feelings. And of course, it can get a little bit more nuanced there, right? So what about plants? Are plants sentient and so on? But that's the general idea. Now, what I wanted to raise here is, how do we determine what issue is an ethical issue? What problem is an ethical problem? Because we can think of anything, almost anything, as having a good and a bad side to it, a right or a wrong. So I wanted to raise some examples here with you so we can think through. Here's an image of two gentlemen in Detroit wearing the sagging pants, the pants where they put under their butt. Is this ethically right or ethically wrong? Because it's not proper way to wear the pants, right? So does this pose an ethical problem? What about this makeup job here? This is the makeup that a woman made in her face. Is this ethical? Because it doesn't seem that she knows how to use the makeup, and it's not, doesn't seem like proper use of makeup. Is this ethically correct or ethically wrong? Is there an argument for, ethical argument for using proper makeup properly? What about trying to fix your car? If you have something maybe leaking or a noise, a bad noise is happening, is that an ethical issue? Do we need ethicists to fix the car? Or is this a new kind of knowledge? Maybe it's a different domain, right? Domain of physics and car engineering. What about eating burnt vegetables? This is a way to cook some vegetables, but is it ethically right or ethically bad? Is it ethically right or wrong to eat burnt vegetables? It may be tasty to your lips, but these usually burnt substances of food are not healthy. What about the current level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? Let's break that down. What about the measurement of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere over hundreds of thousands of years? Is it right to measure it? Should we be measuring or not? And how to do it? Is that an ethical problem? Maybe not. That's a problem of physics and engineering. But once we have determined how to do it and we do it and we see that it's really out of whack, where is the ethical problem? What is the ethical issue here concerning the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? So ethical issues are complex. They come from religious traditions that determine what is right behavior, what is wrong behavior. But almost everything in our day-to-day can have an ethical side to it, because the actions we have implicate ourselves and implicate others. Something as simple as drinking water from a water bottle can be considered or evaluated as ethical or not. So this water bottle here is a disposable water bottle. And while drinking water is good and generally healthy, using it from a disposable water bottle, you're contributing to the gigantic garbage and plastic problem we have on our landfills and oceans. So thinking about ethics is very tricky, and my suggestions here is that it actually implicates almost everything we do. Although, of course, certain actions need information from other domains, such as engineering and physics, and they're not ethical questions, but even those then have ethical repercussions. So generally, if you look around, the term ethics is used in kind of two different ways. So in a specific way, that is ethics as domain-specific guiding rules. So when we talk about business ethics or library and information science ethics of conduct, and you will see these codified in documents such as Association for Computing Machinery Codes of Conduct, or American Library Association Codes of Conduct, or State Bar Codes of Conduct, or Medical Board, and so on. And then there's also ethicals as the general side, general view, which is ethics as general moral principles. So every person has equal legal rights, authority has the ultimate say on decisions, all actions should avoid harming others, and so on. And these are codified in constitutions of nation states, in religious texts, in laws, and so on. And if you do a little kind of search to confirm this idea, if you search, I searched, well, this is in the distinction between ethics and morality. Search in Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy with ethics, you see that the term ethics is usually associated with virtue ethics, or feminist ethics, or business ethics, or African ethics, or environmental ethics, as if they're all in their own world. Whereas the term morality is about the basic, most general ideas of good and bad behavior in human action. So morality and evolutionary biology, religion and morality, and so on. But we can also think of morality and ethics in the same way as well. And I think we need to recognize the contextual aspect of ethics as well, but also its more general aspect. And if you look into it, so for example, in the domain of software programmers and software development, you see there are ethical dilemmas there, and they also relate to some of the more basic questions of morality. So for example, some ethical dilemmas for software programmers are: how much protection is enough? How much protection do you put on the data? How much encryption? It's a technical issue for sure, but also it's an ethical issue. Should we have more protection or less protection? How much is enough? Whether and how to transform users into products, though part of this conversation has to do with how our systems, our surveillance capitalism today turns people into products. So how much is okay? How much is not okay? What kind of guarantees do you have to give to people, and so on? How much to code or compromise to prevent misuse? So how it's part of the protection of the data, protection of the code, what is sufficient, what is not sufficient, and how do ethics and ethical frameworks contribute to that? How far to defend customers against data requests? These are all questions that implicate the quality of people's lives, whether their data can be stolen or misused, but they implicate software programmers in a particular way because they have their own engineering knowledge to apply, but ultimately ethical questions are also permeating their activities. So in summary, ethics and morals refer to what is right or wrong behavior. The term ethics is often used for conduct in specific context, whereas the term morals refer to basic ethical principles for general human behavior. Many issues, and maybe all of human action, can pose an ethical problem or dilemma. Next, we'll talk about ethical and moral frameworks.